According to my model, Julian Crow should have died 12 minutes ago. The words leave my mouth before I can stop them. Calm. Measured. Almost polite. The briefing room goes silent. Glass walls rise from floor to ceiling, reflecting rows of data screens in the cold white light overhead. Faces turn toward me, alphas mostly, shoulders squared, jaws tight. Power hums in the air like static. Hierarchy here isn't a concept, it's a physical sensation. It presses down on my lungs, waits for me to flinch. I don't. I swipe my tablet, and the main screen shifts. Timelines. Heat maps. A red line blinking where it shouldn't. The entry point was compromised at 9:42, I continue, voice even. Crow adjusted the formation manually at 9:47. That deviation increased exposure by 32%. Someone exhales sharply. Not a laugh. A warning. Julian Crow stands at the front of the room, hands clasped behind his back. He doesn't move. He doesn't look at me yet. He's tall, broad-shouldered, the kind of alpha whose presence rewrites the space around him. The kind people follow without asking why. The only reason this didn't end in a body bag, I say, tapping the screen, is because the hostile unit hesitated. That wasn't strategy, that was luck. Luck is a dirty word here. I feel it then. The subtle shift. Alphas straightening. Muscles tensing. A low collective irritation rolling through the room. I can almost taste it, sharp and metallic at the back of my throat. My omega biology registers the threat before my brain finishes the sentence. I push it down. Focus on the numbers. Your after-action report cites instinctive field adjustment, I add, finally lifting my eyes. Instinct isn't a variable. It can't be replicated. And it can't be trusted. That's when Julian turns. Our eyes meet across the room, and something clicks into place.
If this story caught you, subscribe. More are waiting.
His gaze isn't explosive. It's worse. Contained. Controlled. Like a weapon with the safety still on. For the first time he isn't looking at an analyst. He's looking at a problem. You're done, he says quietly. It's not an order. It's a dismissal. The room expects me to obey. I don't. With respect, I reply, and the corner of my mouth twitches despite myself. If I were done, you'd be dead in my model. A murmur ripples through the room. Someone mutters my name like it's a curse. Julian takes a step toward the screen, towering beside the data. You weren't there, he says. You don't hear the breathing. You don't see the hesitation. No, I agree. I see outcomes. The council members sit behind the glass dais, elevated, distant. 3 silhouettes in tailored suits. Faces neutral. Inhumanly still. They haven't interrupted once. That's never a good sign. Julian's jaw tightens. You're saying I made the wrong call. I'm saying, I correct, that your call worked for the wrong reasons. And next time, it won't. Silence crashes down again. Heavier than before. For a moment, I wonder if I've gone too far. If this is the part where I get quietly reassigned, or erased. Then one of the council members speaks. Mr. Hale, she says, voice smooth and cold. Stay after the briefing. Of course. Julian looks at me once more. There's no anger in his eyes now. Just assessment. Calculation. As if he's rerunning me through his own internal model. I've never bothered with field alphas before. They were variables. Loud ones. Dangerous ones. But distant. Now, standing under the lights, with the weight of the room pressing in, I realize something unsettling. Julian Crow doesn't like me. Worse, he's starting to take me seriously. And that, according to every instinct I have, is far more dangerous than his anger. They call me a cabinet break behind my back. I know this because they stop lowering their voices when I walk past. The corridors of the agency are designed to intimidate. Long, narrow, lined with reinforced glass and brushed steel. You're meant to feel small here. Meant to remember that everything you do is watched, measured, archived. Alphas stride through it like they own the floor. Analysts like me move faster, heads down, carrying the weight of decisions we'll never get credit for. I've learned to walk like I belong anyway. By the time I reach the analytics wing, my tablet is buzzing with flagged comments from the briefing. Requests for clarification. Requests for justification. None of them question the math. They never do. They just don't like being reminded that bullets and bravery aren't the same thing as planning. I drop into my chair and pull up the simulation again. Same result. Same red line blinking exactly where it did before. Right on schedule, the door slides open without a knock. Julian Crow fills the frame. Up close he's worse, too solid, too controlled, every movement economical. He doesn't radiate rage. He radiates certainty. The kind that gets people killed because no one wants to challenge it. So, he says, folding his arms, this is where you sit and decide who lives. I don't look up. Statistically, yes. A muscle in his jaw twitches. You've never been on the ground. And yet, I reply, finally meeting his eyes. I keep being right. He steps farther into the room. My screens reflect off the glass wall behind him, probabilities scrolling over his silhouette like a warning label. The field isn't a simulation, he says. People don't move in clean lines. Fear changes things. Heroism doesn't fix bad odds, I shoot back. It just makes the report sound better. That lands. For a split second, something sharp flashes across his face. Not anger. Recognition. I hate myself for noticing. The air shifts. My skin prickles. My omega biology reacts before I can stop it. A low instinctive response to proximity, to dominance. I clamp down hard, breathing slow, controlled. My fingers slide into my pocket, finding the smooth edge of the suppressant vial. I take it without breaking eye contact. Julian notices. Of course he does. Problem? He asks, coolly. Only if you think chemistry is destiny, I say. Silence stretches between us, thick and uncomfortable. Somewhere behind the walls, servers hum, crunching numbers that matter more than either of us. You embarrassed me in there, he says finally. I shrug. Then do better next time. For a moment, I think he might say something reckless. Instead, he straightens, all discipline snapping back into place. You're good at what you do, he admits, like it costs him something. But you hide behind numbers. I smile, sharp and tired. And you hide behind a gun. We all cope somehow. He turns to leave, pausing at the door. One day, he says, your model will be wrong. I don't look away from my screen. Then I'll be the first to say it. The door slides shut. I exhale slowly, letting the tension drain from my shoulders. They want me quiet. Agreeable. Grateful. I became an analyst because silence never saved anyone. If being loud makes me the break, then fine. I'll stop this place from killing its own people, whether they like it or not. The council chamber doesn't look like a courtroom. There's no gavel, no flags, no visible weapons. That's how you know it's dangerous. The room is circular, sealed behind layers of biometric locks. The walls, a smooth matte black that absorbs sound instead of echoing it. A single table waits in the center. 2 chairs. Precisely spaced. No room for misunderstanding. Julian is already there when I arrive. He stands, hands behind his back again, posture perfect, expression unreadable. If this were a field op, I'd say he was bracing for impact. Instead, he looks like a man about to be inspected. I take the other chair. The doors seal shut with a soft hiss that feels far too final. The council members appear on the curved screen in front of us. 3 figures. Faces neutral, voices modulated just enough to strip away warmth. Authority without personality. Violence without fingerprints. Effective immediately, one of them says. You will be operating under Protocol Alpha. I don't like the way Julian's shoulders tense. I don't like it at all. Protocol Alpha, another continues, is a paired operational directive, designed to maximize efficiency through enforced cooperation. Enforced. My mouth goes dry. The screen changes. Diagrams unfold. Data pathways, biometric overlays, clearance trees intertwining until they're impossible to separate. Your access levels will be merged, the council says calmly. Field and analytical clearance will require dual authentication. Julian's jaw tightens. Biometric synchronization will be mandatory, they go on. Heart rate, stress response, neural load. Deviations will trigger automatic intervention. I feel cold. Operational decisions will require mutual authorization, the final voice concludes. Neither of you will act independently. For a moment, no one speaks. Then Julian does. You're tying my hands. Yes, the council replies. And their gaze, if you can call it that, shifts to me. Something in my chest starts to claw. I've spent my entire career fighting to be seen as more than my designation. To be a mind, not a hormone profile. To prove that my value isn't contingent on who outranks me in a room. And now they're binding me. Literally. To an alpha whose shadow already stretches too far. With respect, I say, keeping my voice steady, this compromises analytical independence. It ensures accountability, the council corrects. Julian lets out a short, humorless breath. You don't trust me. We don't trust either of you, they answer. Individually. There it is. The trap snaps shut, quiet and precise. I glance at Julian. He looks back at me, and for the first time since we met, there's no hostility in his eyes. Just the same realization burning behind my own ribs. This isn't partnership. It's containment. This order is non-negotiable, the council says. Refusal will result in reassignment. Reassignment is a polite word. It always is. I nod, because that's what survival looks like here. Julian does the same. The screen goes dark. The doors unlock. As we stand, the weight of it settles in my bones. Shared access. Shared data. Shared failure. Shared control. As we walk out side by side, I realize what terrifies me most isn't being linked to Julian Crow. It's that the system has finally found a way to make my compliance mandatory, and I don't know how much of myself I'll have to give up just to keep breathing. The medical block smells like antiseptic and quiet compliance. White walls. Soft lighting. Machines designed to look reassuring while they dismantle your privacy piece by piece. A technician gestures for us to sit on opposite sides of a narrow bed like this. Is a routine checkup, and not the institutional merging of two human beings. Biometric synchronization will take approximately 6 minutes, she says. Please remain still. Julian doesn't flinch. Of course he doesn't. He sits like he's waiting for orders in a war zone, spine straight, eyes forward. I lie back, staring at the ceiling, and remind myself to breathe. Cold pads press against my temples. My wrist. My chest. Begin, the technician says. The world tilts. It's not pain. It's intrusion. A sudden awareness that isn't mine. Weight, heat, controlled tension coiled under skin. My heart stutters as something vast and steady overlays my own rhythms. I gasp. Easy, Julian mutters, surprising me. It hits hard the first time. You say that like you've done this before, I snap, though my voice shakes. No, he says. But I know what overload feels like. Then it's my turn to feel it, his sharp inhale, the faint hitch as my cognitive feed floods his system. Data density. Probabilities stacking, branching, multiplying. I feel his focus strain, like a muscle pushed too far. Is your head always like this? He asks tightly. Yes, I say. That's why I sit down. The technician watches our vitals spike in tandem. Synchronization stable, she announces. Proceeding to clearance integration. Something clicks. Not metaphorically, literally. A lock engaging somewhere deep inside me. I feel it when Julian stands. The shift in balance, the power held in his limbs. It's disorienting, being aware of strength without owning it. I hate it. We're marched from the medical block straight into the training zone. A simulated urban environment flickers to life around us. Concrete walls, motion sensors, false heat signatures. First joint exercise, a voice announces overhead. Failure will result in protocol recalibration. Julian rolls his shoulders. I rub at my temples, trying to ignore the echo of his heartbeat syncing with mine. Try not to slow me down, he says. I glare at him. Try not to improvise. The scenario drops us into chaos immediately. Targets move unpredictably. Alarms blare. I start calculating angles, timing, escape routes, feeding instructions through the shared channel. Julian hesitates. I feel it. His instinct pulling him left when the numbers scream right. Crow, I snap. Now. He trusts me. Just enough. We move. Fast. Messy. His body reacts before my thoughts finish forming, and for a terrifying second, we're perfectly aligned. Then something slips. My focus fractures under the sensory overload. His breathing, his strain, his proximity. Mike, he growls. You're flooding me. I'm aware, I hiss, forcing the feed narrower. Welcome to my brain. The final target drops. The simulation freezes. Silence crashes down. Exercise complete, the system announces. Operational success. Barely. Julian leans against a wall, breathing hard. I do the same, knees weak in a way I refuse to acknowledge. We look at each other, sweat, irritation, something roar beneath it. That was reckless, he says. That was necessary, I counter. For a moment, I expect another argument. Instead, he exhales slowly. We survived, he says. I swallow. Don't get used to it. Because if this is what working together feels like, this exposure, this loss of boundaries, then hatred might be the only thing keeping me intact. And I'm not sure how long it will hold. The abandoned industrial complex smells like rust and old oil, the kind of place that remembers violence even when no one's been there for years. My HUD overlays the space with clean lines and projected paths, but the real world keeps bleeding through. Cracked concrete, sagging beams, shadows where sensors lose confidence. Julian moves ahead of me, controlled and precise, weapon steady. Through the link, I feel his focus like a drawn wire. This layout doesn't match the satellite data, I murmur. Nothing ever does, he replies. Stay sharp. We're halfway through the structure when my model fractures. Not breaks, fractures. A subtle deviation. Heat signatures where there shouldn't be any. A pattern that doesn't fit unless... Crow, stop, I say. Too late. The trap springs with brutal efficiency. Doors slam shut. Gunfire erupts from elevated platforms. My heart spikes as Julian dives for cover. The force of his movement echoing through my body like it's my own. Ambush, he snaps. I'm already recalculating, fingers flying over my interface. The original plan is useless now. The margins collapse in real time. New route, I say, voice tight. 30 seconds. Move. When I say move, bullets tear into concrete where Julian was standing a second ago. He doesn't argue. He trusts the numbers, even as the field proves them imperfect. Now, I command. He runs. I feel every step. Impact, breath, the controlled burn in his muscles. My mind races, stacking probabilities faster than I can consciously track. Left corridor is a kill zone. Right is unstable but viable. Right, I say. Through the machinery, a beam collapses behind him as he clears the threshold. My chest tightens painfully. For one horrifying second, the feed blanks. Then he's there again. Alive. Swearing. Next time, he growls. Lead with the part where things explode. Despite myself, a laugh escapes me. Short, breathless. Data suggested you'd prefer honesty. We fight our way out inch by inch, the two of us moving like a system that shouldn't exist but does. Every decision is a negotiation between instinct and calculation, between his body and my brain. The last hostile drops. Silence crashes in, broken only by our breathing, mine ragged, his heavy but controlled. Julian lowers his weapon. He doesn't look at me right away. I feel his relief before I see it, a subtle easing that sends a strange warmth through my chest. That adjustment, he says finally. At the doors. I wait. You saved my life. It's not quite a thank you. Not really. But it's close enough to make something in me twist uncomfortably. I nod once. That was the plan. He studies me then. Really studies me. Like he's recalibrating something internal. You changed it fast. I had to, I say. The field changed. A corner of his mouth lifts. Barely. Guess the spreadsheet kept up. I bristle. Don't. He holds up a hand, placating. I mean, it worked. That's worse. Anger flares sharp and unexpected, burning hotter than it has any right to. I turn away, busying myself with shutting down feeds I no longer need. He notices. Of course he does. Why are you mad? He asks. I stop. Swallow. The truth sits heavy on my tongue, unwelcome and dangerous. Because, I say quietly. If you'd ignored me, I could have dismissed you as an idiot. Silence stretches between us again, different this time. Not hostile. Uncertain. I don't look at him when I add. And if you hadn't made it... The sentence doesn't need finishing. Julian exhales slowly. The field isn't a spreadsheet, he says. No, I agree. But it's not chaos either. For the first time he doesn't argue. And that scares me more than the gunfire ever did. Because respect is a variable I never learned how to control. The breach hits at 3:17. I know the exact second because the monitoring center explodes into motion all at once. Alarms. Flaring, screens flashing red. Analysts snapping awake like a shared nervous system. The room is all glass and light, a cathedral to surveillance, and for a brief sickening moment, every warning icon points back to me. Or rather, to us. Unauthorized data extraction, someone shouts. Source traced to paired clearance. My stomach drops. Julian is at my side before I register his movement. I feel his tension spike through the link, sharp and controlled, like a blade drawn halfway. That's not possible, I say, already pulling logs. Our access was sealed. Not sealed enough. A supervisor snaps. The data scrolls faster as I dig deeper, heart pounding. The breach is elegant. Clean. Almost admiring. Whoever did this knows our system intimately. And they've made sure the trail leads straight to Protocol Alpha. Council wants them. Now. We don't get cuffs. We don't need them. The looks alone are enough. The council chamber feels smaller this time, the walls closer, the air heavier. The same three figures sit in judgment, faces as neutral as ever. Explain, one of them says. I launch into the analysis, timestamps, access vectors, statistical improbabilities. I show them the flaw, the backdoor buried beneath legacy code. It's solid. It's convincing. They don't care. You are the only unit with concurrent access, another council member says. Responsibility follows access. Julian's posture stiffens beside me. I feel his anger coil, dangerous and precise. This was a setup, I say. You know it was speculation, the council replies smoothly. Then prove it, Julian cuts in. Every head in the room turns toward him. He steps forward, placing himself slightly ahead of me. Subtle, deliberate, protective. If this breach came from Protocol Alpha, he says evenly, then it's because you expanded our access without proper isolation. That's on you. The room goes very quiet. I stare at him, shock prickling down my spine. This isn't tactical deflection. This is risk. You're defending him, a council member observes. I'm stating facts, Julian replies. Mike Hale doesn't leak data. He prevents it. My chest tightens painfully. They exchange a glance, something silent passing between them. Then the verdict drops. Protocol Alpha will be reinforced, the council says. Additional biometric constraints, reduced autonomy, continuous monitoring. A leash. Tightened. I want to laugh. Or scream. Julian's jaw clenches, but he nods. Understood. I don't. I can't. We're dismissed just as efficiently as we were summoned. In the corridor outside, I stop walking. Why did you do that? He turns, frowning. Do what? Back me up, I say. You didn't have to. Yes, I did, he answers. They were wrong. That's not an answer, I snap. That's a performance. His expression hardens. You think I did it for show? I think, I say, voice low and sharp, that you don't protect people unless there's a reason. Silence stretches between us, heavy with unspoken things. Julian steps closer, gaze steady. Maybe the reason is that I'm tired of watching the system chew up its best assets. Assets. I flinch. Or maybe, he adds quietly, I trust you. I shake my head, backing away. Don't. He watches me go, confusion, and something like hurt, flickering across his face. Behind us, the cameras hum softly, recording everything. I don't know who leaked the data, but I'm starting to understand something worse. The system doesn't need enemies. It only needs leverage. Night operations strip everything down to essentials. Darkness, motion, breath. The transport hums beneath us, as the city blurs past in streaks of sodium light. Julian checks his gear for the third time. I monitor feeds that won't stay stable, data jittering at the edges like a bad signal. Connections degrading, I mutter. Interference is off the charts. Can you compensate? He asks. I can try. The truth is, the reinforced protocols don't like uncertainty. They clamp down, tighten the leash the moment variables spike. My models keep folding in on themselves, probability trees collapsing into static. Crow, I say, sharper now. If the link drops, you pull back. He doesn't answer right away. I feel his hesitation through the sync. Subtle, dangerous. That's not the mission, he finally says. No, I snap. It's survival. The insertion goes bad almost immediately. We're inside for less than 2 minutes when the shared channel glitches. My vision blurs, numbers smearing as the feed stutters. I lose half my sensory input, and with it, my control. Mike, Julian says, voice tight. I'm losing you. Panic spikes hard and fast, a cold rush flooding my system. The protocols respond instantly, flooding my bloodstream with suppressants. Too much. Too fast. I can feel it. My heart racing, heat flaring beneath my skin. Instincts clawing for dominance and connection at the same time. Don't move, I hiss. Overriding the system. Hold position. Red warnings bloom across my interface. Unauthorized override. I ignore them. I reroute the feed manually, forcing the link open despite the safeguards. It feels like tearing something loose inside my chest. Pain flares sharp and immediate, but the data snaps back into place. Julian reappears in my feed, alive, crouched behind cover, breathing hard. "There you are," he says, relief bleeding through his control. "I told you not to move," I bite out. Gunfire erupts again, closer this time. I see the threat before he does. An angle the system hasn't updated yet. "Left," I shout. "Now." He moves on instinct, trusting my voice over the protocol's delayed warning. The shot misses him by inches. The mission ends in chaos, messy, loud, successful by the narrowest margin. By the time we're back in the transport, my hands are shaking so badly I can barely shut down the feed. Julian turns to me, eyes sharp. "What did you do back there?" I laugh brittle. "I did my job." "You overrode the safeguards," he says. "You could have triggered a full shutdown." "I know." "You could have crashed yourself." "I know." The words snap out of me, louder than I intend. The vehicle feels too small, the air too thick. My skin still burns, biology screaming in protest as the suppressants wear off unevenly. Julian reaches out, then stops himself. "Why?" The question hangs between us, dangerous in its simplicity. "Because," I say, voice shaking now, "I wasn't going to watch you die while the system waited for permission." Silence slams into place. I look away, jaw clenched, fury and fear tangling in my chest until I can't tell them apart. "I told you not to move because I was scared," I add. "And I hate that." Julian doesn't speak for a long moment. I feel his presence through the link, steady, grounding. "You're angry," he says finally. "Yes." "At me?" I swallow. "At myself. Because fear means attachment. And attachment is a liability. This system knows exactly how to exploit. And I just handed it proof. The safe apartment is too quiet. Not the comfortable kind, no hum of servers, no distant alarms, no screens breathing in low light. Just soft lamps, clean lines, and the muted sound of the city far below. A place designed for recovery, not living." Julian drops his gear by the door and rolls his shoulders like the weight is still there. I sit on the edge of the couch, hands wrapped around a cup of water I've already forgotten to drink. My body is still catching up with itself. Residual heat, uneven pulses where the protocols push too hard and let go too fast. "You're shaking," he says. "So are you," I reply without looking up. That earns a short huff of laughter. It surprises both of us. He disappears into the kitchenette and comes back with a second cup. Sets it in front of me like I might forget how gravity works. "Medical cleared you?" he asks. Reluctantly, I say. "They don't like it when I improvise." "Funny," he murmurs. I get the same note. Silence settles again, but this time it doesn't feel like a threat. We sit there, not touching, close enough to be aware of each other's warmth. Through the link, everything is quieter, no alerts, no forced synchronization, just baseline presence. It's almost unsettling. "I shouldn't have let you do that," Julian says eventually. "Override the system." I finally look at him. He looks tired. Not injured. Tired in a way rest doesn't fix. "I didn't ask for permission," I say. "That's kind of the point." A corner of his mouth lifts. "You're consistent." "I try." Another pause. Longer this time. "I've been a weapon since I was 22, he says suddenly, staring at nothing. "Point me at a problem, pull the trigger, clean up what's left. They call it discipline, control." I don't interrupt. "They don't ask how it feels," he continues. "They just measure whether it worked." Something tightens in my chest. "They do that to me too," I say quietly. "Just cleaner, less blood." He glances at me, curious. "You're afraid of becoming obsolete?" "No," I answer. "I'm afraid of becoming a function, something that can be optimized out." He considers that. "You already are." I snort despite myself. "You're terrible at reassurance." "I'm honest," he says. Then softer. "I don't want to be just what they built me to be." The words hang between us, fragile and unarmored. I set my cup down. "The protocol can measure heart rate, stress, reaction time. But not this," he says. "No." I agree. "Not choice." Our shoulders brush when he shifts. The contact is brief, accidental, but neither of us pulls away immediately. No sparks, no surge, just warmth. Don't read into this, I say dryly. I'm still annoyed with you. Good, he replies. I'd worry if you weren't. We sit there until the city lights shift, and my body finally stops vibrating under my skin. When I stand to leave, he doesn't stop me. Mike, he says. I turn. Thank you, he adds. Simple. Uncoded. I nod once. Don't make a habit of it. He smiles. Small and real. For the first time since Protocol Alpha went into effect, the silence doesn't feel like something I need to break. It feels like something we chose. The pattern doesn't announce itself. It never does. I'm alone in the analytics hall long past midnight. The room lit only by the glow of layered screens. Rows of desks sit empty, their owners reassigned, rotated, erased for the night. This is when the truth tends to surface, when no one is watching closely enough to stop it. I start with our file. Protocol Alpha. 2 names. 1 clearance tree. Then, I widen the scope. Paired directives. Experimental units. Forced cooperation initiatives going back 12 years. I pull casualty rates, reassignment timelines, disciplinary outcomes. I let the data breathe. And suddenly, it's everywhere. The most efficient pairs don't get promoted. They get contained. Their autonomy shrinks. Their monitoring intensifies. Their missions grow riskier, less strategic, more disposable. And then, quietly, cleanly, they're broken apart. One reassigned. One sidelined. Sometimes one doesn't come back at all. My stomach turns cold. I isolate the variable the system keeps pretending doesn't matter, trust. Pairs that develop it outperform projections by a staggering margin. They adapt faster. Make fewer fatal errors. They don't need constant oversight. Which makes them a problem. I scroll back to our last mission. The breach. The protocol reinforcement. The escalation curve aligns too perfectly with the moment Julian defended me. With the moment we stopped functioning like components. I lean back in my chair, heart pounding, and stare at the ceiling. They aren't testing us. They're managing the end. A soft chime sounds behind me. I don't jump. I already know who it is. Julian stands in the doorway, jacket slung over one shoulder, eyes scanning the room out of habit. You're still here. So are you, I reply. He steps closer, reading my expression. You found something? I don't explain right away. I reroute my display to the central screen, projecting the trend lines, the attrition curves, the quiet red markers that don't look dangerous until you know what they mean. He watches in silence. After a long moment, he exhales. They're thinning the herd. Yes, I say. Specifically, the ones that don't need them. He folds his arms, jaw tight. So what? Eventually they push us into a corner mission and call it operational loss? Statistically, I answer, yes. We stand there, the weight of it pressing in. Fear flickers through the link, his first, then mine. Quick, sharp, contained. What do we do? He asks. I meet his gaze. There's no protocol for this question. No model. No safe answer. We stop reacting, I say slowly. And start choosing. He considers that. Then nods once. No speech. No vow. Just alignment. Outside the glass walls, the agency hums on, oblivious. Orders will come. Missions will be assigned. The system will keep tightening its grip, confident that leverage is enough. They're wrong. For the first time since this began, I don't feel like a variable being adjusted. I feel awake. And whatever comes next, it won't be because we followed instructions. It will be because we decided not to. The city looks different when you stop asking permission. Night wraps the skyline in fractured light, windows glowing like data points, streets pulsing with movement and risk. Our target sits in the middle of it all. A fortified operations hub disguised as a logistics firm. Clean. Legal on paper. Rotten underneath. The kind of place the system likes. My tablet vibrates with incoming directives. Mission parameters. Safety thresholds. Automated contingencies, stacked 3 layers deep. I don't open them. Julian notices immediately. You're flying blind, he says over the channel. No, I reply. I'm flying with you. The words settle between us, heavier than gunfire. We breach from the roof, clean and quiet. My mind maps the space out of habit, angles, probabilities, exit vectors, but I keep the models loose this time. Adaptive. Breathing. The protocol tries to tighten. Warning, deviation detected. I feel the leash pull. I cut it. Not violently. Precisely. A surgical reroute through the same legacy flaw used in the breach. I don't disable the system. I lie to it. Feed it compliance while we move outside its expectations. Julian feels the shift instantly. The sync's different, he says. I know. His breathing steadies. Matches mine. Not forced. Chosen. We move. Guards go down before alarms can spin up. Every decision is shared without being spoken, his body reacting to threats I haven't finished naming. My mind adjusting the plan based on micro movements I trust him to make. At one point, the algorithm screams at me to pull him back. The odds spike red, ugly, and loud. I ignore it. Instead, I watch him. Julian vaults a barrier under fire, timing his movement to a lull that shouldn't exist, but does. I reroute power. Not because the model says to, but because his posture tells me he's about to need it. The lights die. We slip through the dark like a single thought. Left, he murmurs. I don't question it. I reroute our exit path without checking the math. For the first time in my life I let intuition lead. Not mine, but ours. We reach the core room together. Servers hum, oblivious. This is the heart of it. The place where control becomes policy. 30 seconds, Julian says. I jack in, hands steady, heart racing. The system fights back, layers peeling away as it tries to reassert authority. I override again and again, not breaking rules, rewriting assumptions. Paired units aren't liabilities. They're leverage. Alarms finally blare as we exfiltrate, the city exploding back into noise around us. We disappear into the crowd just as the building locks down behind us. On a nearby rooftop, breathless and grinning despite ourselves, we pause. That, Julian says, voice low and almost incredulous, was perfect. I laugh, sharp and real. Don't let it go to your head. He looks at me then, not as an asset, not as a risk, but as an equal. A partner. We didn't follow the protocol, he says. No, I agree. We outgrew it. The city stretches out below us, vast and ungoverned. For the first time since this started, the link between us feels light, voluntary, free. Whatever consequences come next, and they will, we won't face them as variables in someone else's system. We'll face them together. And that choice, more than any override, is what finally makes us dangerous. The council chamber feels colder than I remember. Same circular design. Same matte black walls that swallow sound. Same elevated screen where 3 figures sit in judgment, faces carefully neutral. The difference is subtle, but undeniable. This time, they're watching us. Julian stands beside me, shoulders squared, expression calm in that dangerous way that usually means he's already decided how far he's willing to fall. I feel it through the link, his readiness to absorb impact. The hearing begins without ceremony. You deviated from mission parameters. One of the council members states. You disabled safeguard protocols. Correction, Julian says smoothly. I did. My head snaps toward him. He continues before I can speak. The override was initiated on my authority. I take full responsibility. There it is. The clean sacrifice. The narrative they prefer. I step forward. No, I say. Quiet. Clear. Every eye shifts to me. No? The council repeats. No, I say again, meeting the screen head on. My pulse is steady. That surprises me. Julian Crow did not act alone. Neither did I. Julian's jaw tightens. Mike, I won't let you turn this into a story you can manage, I cut in, still calm. That's the problem. You keep trying to isolate actions, blame, responsibility. That's not what happened. The council waits. Predators do that when they think you're about to make a mistake. What happened, I continue, is that your protocols failed. A ripple passes through the chamber. Not noise but attention. Protocol Alpha was designed to control cooperation, I say. Not enable it. You bound 2 professionals together and then punished them for functioning as intended. Your performance metrics, a council member begins. Exceeded projections, I finish for them. By 17%. Despite active interference. Silence. Julian watches me now. Something like pride flickering through his composure. You created a system that fears autonomy, I say. So when it appeared, you labeled it a breach. This is conjecture, the council replies. I nod. Then review the data. I gesture, and the screen fills with my analysis. Attrition curves, containment, escalations, the quiet pattern they hoped no one would map. You don't dismantle effective pairs because they're unstable, I say. You dismantle them because they don't need you. For the first time, one of the council members shifts. Julian steps forward then, not to shield me, but to stand with me. We didn't undermine the system, he says evenly. We exposed it. The chamber hums softly, like a machine under stress. After a long pause, the council speaks again. Protocol Alpha will be reviewed, not an apology, not an admission. A crack. We're dismissed without verdict, without punishment. That, more than anything, tells me we've changed the equation. As the doors open, Julian glances at me. You didn't have to stop me. Yes, I say quietly. I did. We walk out side by side, equal in a way no clearance level could grant. Behind us, the system recalibrates. And for the first time, it's doing so in response to us. The roof is quiet in a way the agency never is. No glass walls, no screens. Just open air and the low, steady hum of the city stretching out in every direction. The sun is just beginning to set, painting the skyline in soft gold instead of threat indicators. I didn't plan to come up here. Julian did. They're revising the protocols, he says, leaning against the railing like, this is just another debrief and not the aftermath of something seismic. Committees, oversight, lots of words. I snort. That's how you know we scared them. They offered us options, he adds. I glance at him. Plural? For you. Senior analyst role, independent unit. No pairing, full autonomy. He pauses. For me, command track, separate clearance, clean slate. There it is. The system's favorite move, divide and stabilize. I watch the city instead of him, feeling the ghost of the link between us, still there but quiet. Voluntary. And? I ask. He shrugs. I told them I needed time. I laugh softly. That's code for no, usually, he agrees. Then he looks at me. Expression open in a way I haven't seen before. What about you? They offered me everything I asked for, I say. As long as I stop asking questions. Julian smiles, crooked and familiar. Tempting, for about 5 seconds. We stand there, shoulder to shoulder, not touching. The wind carries city noise up to us. Sirens, laughter, life continuing without clearance levels. You know, he says, there's no protocol for choosing a partner. I tilt my head. Pretty sure they tried to write one, and failed, he replies. I meet his gaze. There's no urgency now. No alarms. Just a decision that feels strangely light. Together, I say. He nods. Together. No handshake. No dramatic vow. Just alignment. The sun dips lower, the city shifting into night. Somewhere below, the system keeps running, adjusting, pretending it's still in control. Up here, it doesn't matter. Because whatever comes next, new rules, new resistance, new ways to push back, we won't face it as assets or variables. We'll face it as people who chose each other when it mattered. I take a breath, feeling the space where fear used to live. Trust isn't written into protocols. It's chosen,